Hi, I welcome you all to this session on fiber optics. Fiber optics, as we all know, has steadily replaced copper wire as an appropriate means of signal transmission. A variety of optical equipment is attributable to this communication evolution, in which fiber optic cables are leading the way. Taking you along on this journey is Dr. Yunus Jerusha, an assistant professor of physics. Fiber optic systems are superior to metallic conductors in many applications. Their greatest advantage is bandwidth or a higher information carrying capacity. Because of the wavelength of light, it is possible to transmit a signal that contains considerably more information than is possible with a metallic conductor, even a coaxial conductor. Other advantages include electrical isolation. Since we are using light signals, we do not need any kind of a grounding connection. Both the transmitter and the receiver are isolated from each other and are therefore free of ground loop problems. Also, there is no danger of sparks or electrical shock, and therefore fiber optic cables are completely non-flammable. Also, there is freedom from any kind of an electromagnetic interference, and they emit no radiation themselves to cause interference. There is also low power loss since they are digital signals, and this permits longer cable runs and fewer repeater amplifiers. They are lighter and smaller. The fiber weighs less and needs less space than metallic conductors with equivalent signal carrying capacity. Also, since the materials used are mostly glass or plastic, they are less expensive. A look at the evolution of the fiber optic cable. In the year 1870, John Tyndall proposed that light could be transmitted through a stream of water. In the year 1880, the well-known inventor Alexander Graham Bell brought about the photophone, where he used light as carrier waves. In the year 1930, images were transmitted through a fiber. In the year 1950, a patent was obtained for a 2-layer glass waveguide. Later, in the year 1960, laser was first used as a light source. In the year 1965, it was discovered that transmission of light resulted in a very high loss of data. In the 1970s, therefore, the manufacturing process of these fibers was refined, and by the 1980s, optical fiber technology became the backbone for various long-distance communication networks. This is a video which shows that light can be propagated through a liquid by means of total internal reflection. The liquid used here is propylene glycol with air as the surrounding medium, and it is very clearly observed that at the interface of propylene glycol and air, there is total internal reflection occurring, keeping the light always within the body of the liquid stream. In order for total internal reflection to occur in a solid medium, 3 components are required in the basic construction of a fiber optic cable. They are the core, cladding, and buffer coating. The core is the innermost layer where light is totally internally reflected and propagates along the length of the fiber. The core in turn is surrounded by a cladding layer which has a lesser refractive index. These two layers in turn are surrounded by a buffer coating which is made up of a polymer and protects the optical fiber. The optical fiber is fabricated using transparent glass and some kind of plastic materials. It consists of a central core surrounded by a cladding, both of which are made up of transparent dielectric materials. The refractive index of the core is greater than that of the cladding material, and the cladding is enclosed by a thick polyurethane jacket which acts as a protective layer to protect the fiber from moisture and any other external abrasions. A depiction of refraction and total internal reflection is shown here. When theta is less than theta c, there is refraction. When theta is equal to theta c, light travels along the interface, and when theta is greater than theta c, there is total internal reflection. It is therefore clearly understood that when the angle of incidence theta 1 is less than the critical angle theta c, there is refraction of light occurring in the second medium with an angle of refraction theta 2 which is less than 90 degree. In the second case, when the angle of incidence theta 1 is equal to the critical angle theta c, the angle of refraction theta 2 becomes 90 degrees and the refracted ray travels along the interface of the two media. In the third case, when the angle of incidence theta 1 is greater than the critical angle theta c, the light ray becomes totally internally reflected and travels only in the first medium. This is the basic principle for the propagation of light in an optical fiber. Therefore, the essential conditions or criteria for total internal reflection to occur are: the light must travel from an optically dense medium to an optically rare medium, meaning N1, the refractive index of the dense medium, must be greater than N2, the refractive index of the rarer medium. Also, the angle of incidence must be greater than the critical angle. That is, theta 1 has to be greater than theta c. From this picture, it is very clearly observed that only when light travels from an optically dense medium to an optically less dense medium, total internal reflection can occur. Also, it is observed that the angle of incidence must be greater than the critical angle for total internal reflection. This is a picture showing an optical fiber with the surrounding medium as air, which is a rare medium, and therefore within the optical fiber we have total internal reflection taking place. In order to determine an expression for the critical angle, we use the Snell's law of refraction, which is N1 sin theta 1 is equal to N2 sin theta 2, where N1 stands for the refractive index of the first medium, theta 1 stands for the angle of incidence in the first medium, N2 stands for the refractive index of the second medium, and theta 2 stands for the angle of refraction occurring in the second medium. In this expression, we replace theta 1 with a critical angle theta c and theta 2 as 90 degree. On replacement, we obtain n1 sine theta c to be equal to n2 sine 90, sine 90 being 1, we have just n2. Therefore, sine theta c is n2 by n1 and theta c therefore is sine inverse n2 by n1. Therefore, it is clearly understood that when the condition for refractive indices and the condition for the angle of incidence is met, total internal reflection occurs within the core of the optical fiber. Let us consider a cylindrical optical fiber. It consists of a core of refractive index N1 and a cladding of refractive index N2. Let N0 be the refractive index of the medium, in our case air, in which the optical fiber is placed. The incident ray travels along the path AO and enters the core at an angle theta naught to the fiber axis. The ray is refracted along OB at an angle theta r to the fiber axis as shown in the diagram. It further proceeds to fall at a critical angle phi, which is equal to 90 minus theta r on the interface between the core and the cladding. At this angle, the ray will just travel along the core cladding interface. Any ray which enters into the core at an angle of incidence less than theta naught will have a refractive angle less than theta r. Hence, the angle of incidence phi equal to 90 minus theta r at the interface of the core and cladding will be more than the critical angle. Hence, the ray is totally internally reflected ray. Thus, only those rays which pass within the acceptance angle or the acceptance cone will be totally internally reflected. Therefore, the light incident on the core within this maximum external incident angle theta naught can be coupled into the fiber to propagate. This angle theta naught is called as the waveguide acceptance angle. The picture shown here is a simplified version of the diagram we have just seen. We see here in this diagram that the light is launched in the air medium with refractive index n0 and the corresponding angle of incidence theta naught. The light then travels into the optical fiber at the core layer having a refractive index n1 and the corresponding angle of refraction is theta r. The light ray proceeds still further and falls on the core cladding interface at point B with an angle of incidence 90 minus theta r in the core layer and the corresponding angle of refraction in the cladding layer as 90 degree. The corresponding refractive index of the cladding layer is N2. We now apply Snell's law at point O. Therefore, we have N0 sin theta naught to be equal to N1 sin theta r. Cross multiplying, we have sin theta naught to be equal to N1 by N0 sin theta r. We now replace sin theta r in terms of the cosine term and sin theta naught therefore turns out to be N1 by N0 square root 1 minus cos square theta r. This we call as equation number 1. We now apply Snell's law at point B. On application, we have N1 sin 90 minus theta r to be equal to N2 sin 90. In this expression, sin 90 minus theta r can be written as cos theta r and sin 90 is 1. Therefore, we have now N1 cos theta r to be equal to N2 or cos theta r is equal to N2 by N1 which we represent as equation number 2. We now substitute equation 2 in equation 1 and we obtain sin theta naught to be n1 by n naught square root 1 minus n2 by n1 the whole square. We take the LCM and we obtain n1 by n naught square root n1 square minus n2 square divided by n1 square. On cancellation of the n1 term in the numerator and denominator, we obtain sin theta naught to be square root n1 square minus n2 square divided by n naught. Considering the surrounding medium as air, the refractive index turns out to be n naught equal to 1 and therefore sin theta naught can be rewritten as square root n1 square minus n2 square. And simplifying still further, we can obtain theta naught to be sin inverse square root n1 square minus n2 square. It is clearly seen that any light signal falling at an angle of incidence greater than theta naught cannot enter the fiber optic cable. That is, the light which falls outside of the acceptance cone cannot be coupled onto the optical fiber. This angle of incidence is called as the acceptance angle and it is defined as the maximum angle at which light suffers total internal reflection. It can also be defined as the maximum angle at which a ray of light can enter through one end of the fiber and still be totally internally reflected. This acceptance angle, denoted by theta naught, is given by the expression sin inverse square root n1 square minus n2 square divided by n naught. And if the surrounding medium is air, n naught is 1 and the acceptance angle turns out to be sin inverse square root n1 square minus n2 square. We now define a new term called as numerical aperture denoted by Na. It is defined as the light collecting efficiency of the fiber and is a measure of the amount of light rays that can be accepted by the optical fiber. It can also be defined as the sine of the acceptance angle. It is given by the expression Na is equal to sin theta naught, which is equal to square root n1 square minus n2 square divided by n naught. And if the surrounding medium is air, n naught is equal to 1 and Na is simplified as square root n1 square minus n2 square. Another term which we need to get acquainted with is the fractional index change denoted by delta. It is defined as the ratio of the change in the refractive indices of the core and cladding to the refractive index of the core. It is given by delta is equal to n1 minus n2 by n1. Cross multiplying, we have n1 delta is equal to n1 minus n2, which we represent as equation 3. We all know that the numerical aperture Na is given by square root of n1 square minus n2 square. This on expansion gives us square root n1 minus n2 into n1 plus n2, which we represent as equation 4. Substituting equation 3 in equation 4, we have Na to be equal to square root n1 delta into n1 plus n2. Since n1 is nearly equal to n2, we have Na to be equal to square root 2n1 squared delta. Taking n1 out, we have Na in terms of the fractional index change to be n1 square root 2 delta. There are three different ways by which optical fibers can be classified. The first is by means of the material by which optical fibers are fabricated. They can be fabricated from glass or plastic. The second means by which optical fibers can be classified is through the mode of propagation. Light rays can be propagated either through the single mode of propagation or through the multi-mode of propagation. And last of all, optical fibers can be classified on the basis of their refractive index profile. And based on this, we have two different types of fibers, the step index fiber and the graded index fiber. Now for a detailed look at the classification of optical fibers based on the materials used to fabricate them. As seen earlier, optical fibers can be made out of glass or plastic. Glass optical fibers have lasers as a light source and are operated in the single mode of propagation. Their core diameter also is therefore small. Whereas plastic optical fibers have LEDs as a light source and propagate in the multi-mode of propagation. Therefore, their core diameters are quite larger compared to the glass optical fiber. Glass optical fibers are made by fusing mixtures of metal oxides and silica glasses. Silica is the preferred material here because it has a refractive index of 1.458. It is clear and transparent at 850 nanometer, which is the first operating window for the optical fiber. In order to alter the refractive index of either the core or the cladding, various types of dopants are added to silica. Some of the dopants are fluorine or various oxides such as B2O3, GeO2 or P2O3. And some of the examples are listed here. Core can be made of silica with its cladding to be P2O3 SiO2, or if the core is GeO2 SiO2, the cladding is made of pure silica, and if the core is made of P2O5 SiO2, the cladding is made of pure silica. Glass optical fibers, just as its name shows, is an optical fiber made of glass. Being a delicate type of optical fiber, it cannot be cut, spliced or repaired and is less resistant to flexibility and accidental breakage. Glass fibers are extremely versatile and robust and are available in a mix of configurations, end fittings and adapter types. However, this kind of optical fiber is generally ideal for hostile environments even when exposed to mechanical stress, high temperatures or chemical substances. It performs normal operation. This here is an example of a glass optical fiber where the optical fiber is completely protected by covering it by means of a hollow core and is then surrounded by aramide fibers, then protected using a single core sheath and finally covered by an outer sheath. Plastic optical fibers are typically made of plastics and are of low cost. Due to its high refractive index difference between the core and the cladding materials, plastic fibers yield high numerical aperture and a large angle of acceptance. Plastic optical fibers or POF is an optical fiber which is made out of plastic. Traditionally, it comprises of PMMA, which is polymethyl methacrylate, as the core material that facilitates the transmission of light, and fluorinated polymers as the cladding material. Plastic fibers uses harmless green or red light that is easily visible to the eye. Plastic fibers can be safely installed in a home without risk to inquisitive children. But nowadays, Higher performance plastic fibers is used based on perfluorinated polymers. The following picture shows the construction. Light propagates as electromagnetic waves through an optical fiber. All waves having ray directions above the critical angle will be trapped within the fiber due to total internal reflection. However, all such waves do not propagate through the fiber. Only certain ray directions are allowed to propagate. The allowed directions correspond to the modes of the fiber. Mode is the one which describes the nature of propagation of electromagnetic waves in a waveguide. Modes can be visualized as a possible number of paths of light in an optical fiber. The paths are all zigzag paths excepting in the axial direction. The light rays path along which the waves are in phase inside the fiber are called modes. The number of modes that a fiber will support depends on the ratio of d by lambda, where d is the diameter of the core and lambda is the wavelength of the wave being transmitted. Modes are designated by an order number small m. In a fiber of fixed thickness, the higher order modes propagate at smaller angles than the lower order modes. Based on the number of modes that propagate through the optical fiber, they are classified as single mode fiber, which is in a fiber, if only one mode is transmitted through it, then it is said to be a single mode fiber. Second, we have the multi-mode fibers, that is, if more than one mode is transmitted through the optical fiber, then it is said to be a multi-mode fiber. Single mode fibers transmit one signal per fiber and therefore they are commonly used in telephone networks and cable TV networks. Due to the transmission of just one signal per fiber, they have a smaller core diameter of around 9 micron and the light signal used here is IR light from a laser. Multimode fibers, on the other hand, transmit many signals per fiber and therefore they are used in computer networks. Due to the transmission of many signals, they have a larger core diameter of around 62.5 micron and the light source used here for the transmission of light signals is the IR light from the LED. This is a cross section of the single mode fiber and the two types of multi-mode fibers. Single mode fibers have a very small core diameter of around 9 micron, whereas the multi-mode fibers have their core diameters to vary from 50 micron to around 62.5 micron. It is observed that the two types of fibers, the single mode and the multi-mode fibers, have a uniform cladding diameter of around 125 micron. We distinguish the single mode and the multi-mode fibers by means of the variation in the color of the sheath. Single mode fibers have an yellow color sheath, whereas multi-mode fibers have a blue color sheath. From the figure shown here, it is seen that the refractive index profile of the single mode fiber shows a very thin or small core diameter. And looking at the multi-mode fiber, the core diameter is quite large. Both these fibers, the single mode as well as the multi-mode fibers, have a step index kind of a refractive index profile. Looking at the second half of the picture, we are able to see that the signals as they propagate down the length of the fiber arrive at the receiver end with a small delay. Therefore, there is a loss of the signal in the case of a multi-mode fiber, whereas In the case of a single mode fiber, it is observed that there is not much delay in the signal which is received at the receiver end, and therefore there is no signal loss occurring in the case of a single mode fiber. Let us look at the characteristics of single and multimode fibers in the form of a comparative chart. A single mode fiber has only a step refractive index profile, whereas a multi-mode fiber can have both a step index profile and a graded index profile. Single mode fibers are fabricated out of doped silica, while multi-mode fibers are made from multi-component glass compounds. There is only one path of propagation available for a single mode fiber, whereas multi-mode fibers have many paths of propagation. The core diameter is small for a single mode fiber, whereas the core diameter is large for the case of a multi-mode fiber. A single mode fiber has no dispersion and therefore there is less optical loss. In the case of a multi-mode fiber, there is higher dispersion and therefore a higher optical loss. The bandwidth therefore is higher for a single mode fiber. It is around 1000 MHz, whereas for a multi-mode fiber, the bandwidth is less at around 50 MHz. The numerical aperture is low for a single mode fiber and it is high for a multi-mode fiber. Therefore, single mode fibers are used for long distance communication purposes and multi-mode fibers are used for short distance communication purposes. From the comparison of the single mode and the multi-mode fibers, it can be concluded that both single mode and multi-mode optics have their own features. Single mode fiber cabling system is suitable for long reach data transmission applications and is widely deployed in carrier networks. Multi-mode fiber cabling systems has a shorter reach and is widely deployed in enterprise, data centers and LANs. Based on the refractive index profile of the core and cladding, optical fibers are classified into two types, namely the step index fiber and the graded index fiber. A step index fiber is a fiber characterized by a uniform refractive index within the core and a sharp decrease in the refractive index at the core cladding interface so that the cladding is of a lower refractive index. In a step index fiber, the light rays propagate in a zigzag manner inside the core. The rays travel in the fiber as meridional rays and they cross the fiber axis for every reflection. Also, there is distortion occurring in a step index fiber due to the presence of high angle rays. Graded index fiber, on the other hand, is a type of optical fiber where the refractive index of the core is uniform at the center and then decreases towards the core cladding interface. The uniformity is present because the refractive index is higher at the axis of the core and continuously reduces with the radial movement away from the axis. However, the refractive index of the cladding is constant in the case of a graded index fiber. Hence, the nature of the refractive index is parabolic. The light rays in a graded index fiber propagate in the form of skew rays or helical rays and therefore they do not cross the fiber axis. Another point to be noted here is that since different rays take different times to travel through the length of the fiber, there is minimal loss due to distortion. As the light ray travels from the fiber axis having a higher refractive index to the core cladding interface, which has the least refractive index, it is very clearly observed that as the light travels from the fiber axis, the light ray bends away from the normal, and as it proceeds to travel from the interfacial layer towards the fiber axis, since the refractive index increases, the light ray bends towards the normal, and hence the light ray always propagates in the form of a helix and never touches the fiber axis. Let us look at the characteristics of the step index and graded index fibers in the form of a comparative chart. The step index fiber has a uniform refractive index in its core layer and a sharp decrease in the refractive index at the cladding. In the case of the graded index fiber, the refractive index of the core is uniform at the center and then it decreases towards the core cladding interface. There are two types of step index fibers based on the mode of propagation. They are the single mode and the multi-mode fibers, whereas in the graded index fiber, there is only multi-mode of propagation. The refractive index profile is in the form of a step for a step index fiber, whereas for the case of a graded index fiber, the refractive index profile is in the form of a parabola. The light rays propagate in the form of a zigzag manner inside the core, and therefore these rays are called as meridional rays. They cross the fiber axis for every reflection. In the case of a graded index fiber, the light rays propagate in the form of skew rays or helical rays, and they never cross the fiber axis. A few more characteristics are on the way. There is more attenuation in the case of a multimode step index fiber, whereas attenuation is less in the case of a single mode step index fiber. In the case of the graded index fiber, the attenuation is very less. Step index fibers are less expensive to be fabricated, whereas graded index fibers are highly expensive to fabricate. The numerical aperture for a multimode step index fiber is large and the numerical aperture is less in the case of a single mode step index fiber. For the graded index fiber, the numerical aperture is less. Pulse broadening and intermodal dispersion occur frequently in a multimode step index fiber, whereas for a graded index fiber, there is no pulse broadening and no intermodal dispersion due to periodic self-focusing. Now for some more characteristics. The signal distortion is more in the case of a multimode step index fiber due to the presence of high angle rays, while in a single mode step index fiber there is no distortion. In the case of a graded index fiber, the signal distortion is very low since the light rays travel with different speeds inside the graded index fiber. The lower bandwidth in a step index fiber varies for a multimode fiber and for a single mode fiber. The bandwidth is less to the extent of 50 MHz kilometer for a multimode fiber, whereas for the case of a single mode fiber, the bandwidth is higher at 100 MHz kilometer. In the case of a graded index fiber, the bandwidth is quite high, from 200 MHz kilometer to around 600 MHz kilometer. Theoretically, we say the graded index fiber has an infinite bandwidth. The core diameter for a step index fiber operating in the multimode is 50 to 200 micron, whereas for a single mode fiber, the core diameter is around 10 micron. In the case of a graded index fiber, the core diameter is 50 micron. Step index fibers, due to their operation in the multi-mode as well as in the single mode, are mostly used for short distance communication purposes, whereas for the case of a graded index fiber which has less distortion, these fibers are mostly used for long distance communication purposes. The number of modes of propagation in a step index fiber is given by n step is equal to 4.9 dNA divided by lambda the whole square, where d denotes the core diameter, Na is the numerical aperture of the fiber, and lambda is the wavelength of the light signal travelling through the optical fiber. N step in terms of the V number is given by V square by 2. For a graded index fiber, the number of modes of propagation is given by N graded is equal to 4.9 by 2 dNA by lambda the whole square. In terms of the V number, N graded is equal to V square by 4. And the number of modes being propagated in a graded index fiber in terms of the number of modes propagating in a step index fiber is given by N graded is equal to N step divided by 2. The V number is an expression which involves the core radius small a. Therefore, V number capital V is equal to 2 pi a Na by lambda, where a stands for the core radius. To summarize the classification of optical fibers, it is clearly seen from this picture that for a single mode step index fiber, the core diameter is quite small. For a graded index multimode fiber, the core diameter is slightly larger, and for the case of a step index fiber working in the multimode propagation, the core diameter is still larger. The refractive index profiles of these fibers which we just saw is shown here in this column. The refractive index profile for the step index multimode fiber is seen where there is a sharp change occurring in the refractive index of the core and the cladding. It is in the form of a step. But for the case of a graded index fiber, it is clearly seen that the refractive index is maximum at the fiber axis and decreases steadily as it approaches the core cladding interface. And for the case of a step index single mode fiber, the refractive index profile is in the form of a step but with a smaller core diameter. Moving on to the next set of diagrams, we see here a pulse is sent as the input signal, and for a single mode fiber, this single pulse travels at its fastest and approaches the receiver end without any loss in signal. There is very less attenuation and very less dispersion. Going on to the graded index fiber, it is observed that the light signals propagate in a graded index fiber in the form of helical rays, and since there are many signals traveling through the length of the fiber, there is a small pulse broadening or dispersion. But there is not much loss occurring in terms of attenuation. For the case of a multimode fiber with a step index profile, the rays travel in the form of a zigzag ray. They are meridional rays, and the output pulse is much reduced with lot of broadening taking place, and therefore distortion and attenuation occur more frequently in a step index fiber with multimode propagation. To summarize, we have seen that the principle involved in the data transmission is total internal reflection. We saw the various criteria such as the angle of incidence and its relationship with the critical angle, and the relationship between the refractive indices of the core and the cladding. We obtained expressions for the numerical aperture, acceptance angle, and the fractional index change. And we also saw the classification of the optical fibers based on the material by which they are fabricated, the modes of propagation, and the refractive index profile. Thank you for your patient listening.